It's not easy making a good movie about the American Civil War. A lot of people sacrifice storytelling for historical accuracy, which kills the point of making a movie, while others manipulate and twist history to give us an ideological interpretation of the war that makes for bad history and bad storytelling. Then there are other producers and directors who do their best to tell a good story that's believably immersive in a historical setting, and sometimes it just doesn't work. That's why my hat is off to everyone involved in making what I consider to be the top 5 best Civil War movies. Thank you for watching the Civil War Wild West Edition. Let's begin. Number 5. Gettysburg. This movie has some flaws that slightly date it at certain moments, but I can't deny that it's a timeless classic. The bloodlessness in the battles and underwhelming acting by the many hundreds of extras is awkward, and I don't really buy the excuse that this was originally shot for TV, because The Blue and the Gray came out as a TV miniseries a decade before Gettysburg and had way better acting from the extras and glorified extras. This movie is also guilty of wasting a lot of time speechifying. That's Ron Maxwell's style. He is a philosophical filmmaker and loves having lots of speeches in his movies. In spite of all of this, the Gettysburg screenplay was a decent adaptation of an excellent novel, and it provides a good story arc for a number of characters whose portrayal by the actors makes those characters extremely likable. I don't agree with what Armistead, Lee, or Pickett fought for, which was not states' rights, get out of here, but I still like seeing those characters on screen and spending time with their story arcs. That's because Richard Jordan, Martin Sheen, and Stephen Lang give amazing, believable, relatable performances. Sam Elliott has a natural command presence and is always a pleasure to see perform, even though nobody cares about General Buford. Sorry. I also love that the director decided to give us enough insight and detail on this one battle to give us an epic 4-hour-long movie. This doesn't mean that length alone makes a great movie, since plenty of long movies are just plain boring. It does mean that this movie manages to keep audiences engaged just enough to endure that many hours of watch time in one sitting. That really is awesome. Gettysburg would have ranked higher than number 5 if it weren't for the unrealistic lack of carnage and so much time burned on speeches. That said, the movie is still part of the top 5 best, for good reasons. Number 4. Glory. This movie has cheesy battle deaths, although to its credit, the violence is much more realistic than Gettysburg, although all things being relative, you know. I also like that the movie was able to tell the stories of real people and develop these stories in strong character arcs. You'll learn to root for people like Colonel Shaw, who's in way over his head but desperately wants to do right by his men and make them the fittest combat soldiers they can be. Or the Sergeant Major, whose age, wisdom, and empathy make him a natural leader. And there are even antagonists like these two self-righteous jerks whom you extremely dislike, but you're still hoping that they come around because you want to be able to root for them. Everyone has personal growth, including Private Weenie, and that type of growth also benefits the group at large. If anybody's not familiar with the history of the 54th Massachusetts Infantry, don't look it up on the internet. Watch the movie first and experience the story. Then you can give yourself a book report. Frankly, I would have killed for an extended version of this movie. The soundtrack is hauntingly beautiful and was also licensed for the Civil War: A Nation Divided video game on PlayStation 2. Number 3. Lincoln. Steven Spielberg did another excellent job with the 2012 film Lincoln. It's not a biopic, but is about Lincoln's life and work in the last year of the Civil War. Daniel Day-Lewis lights up the screen no matter what the movie is. Watching him as the guy on the $5 bill, trying to manage being a husband and father, and also the Commander-in-Chief of the United States during the biggest war so far in American history, is incredible. Daniel Day-Lewis never disappoints, but the real surprise is James Spader as Mr. Bilbo, and Tommy Lee Jones as Thaddeus Stevens. Both actors steal the show in every one of their scenes. This movie isn't about the war on the battlefield, although we do get to see a couple of battlefields here and there. It's about the pivotal role that Congress and the President played in the war effort at the end of the Civil War. The downtown Richmond scene is incredible. I won't say another word about it. The only thing I would change about this movie is having a longer clip of the Battle of Jenkins Ferry and maybe extending the Richmond scene just a little bit. But I do love the way the US color troops shown in the beginning of the movie come up again later on. Number 2. The Outlaw Josey Wales. I specifically chose this movie because it's able to present a credible interpretation of the Civil War and Reconstruction from the Southern perspective, but without going into lost cause absurdity. It doesn't change the reason why the planters in Montgomery and Richmond were really sending young Southern boys to their deaths, but it is more or less realistic about some of the atrocities committed against civilians in Missouri by pro-Union militias and militants, and why many people in the border states would have fought for the enemy of whoever harmed their family or their hometown. That's the historical appeal, but the movie's strong points are its story with engaging themes and the strong character performances. Clint Eastwood is good in just about everything he does, and in this Western we actually get some character development, unlike other Westerns he's famous for that are set in the same time period. Chief Dan George is always a pleasure to see, and I love how his character is an homage to a certain Cherokee general who fought for the South. But what makes this movie endure after nearly 50 years, well, other than great directing, writing, acting, and cinematography, is how it tells a powerful story about something everybody can relate to. The desire to get even with the people who did you wrong. Number 1. Shenandoah. This 1965 blockbuster is by far the best movie about the American Civil War that I've ever seen. James Stewart, as a real-life war veteran, gave one hell of a performance as an aging father who didn't want his sons fighting in a war that had nothing to do with the family. It doesn't take sides between North and South, since people from both sides do things to hurt the main character's family, as well as other people who are in neither army. The movie deals with historical themes like the Emancipation Proclamation, habeas corpus, prisoners of war, and crime and looting, but also with deeper philosophical themes like patriotism, self-ownership, and man's inhumanity to man. Due to the technological limitations of the time, Shenandoah is technically dated as a film, but because of the timeless qualities in the acting and storytelling, this movie never gets old. To end this list with a twist, here's my honorable mention: Gangs of New York. Martin Scorsese outdid himself with this dramatic portrayal of immigrant life and gang life in the poorest slums of New York City during the Civil War. The bigotry in the North manifests itself in social relations between races and classes differently than it does in the South. The war is mostly a backdrop during the movie, which is about a vendetta between opposing gang leaders, but I love these portrayals of the wartime home front. The battlefields were thousands of miles away from New York City, but poor people were being drafted left and right to go fight in a war that many of them didn't believe in. The culmination of that B plot is during the climax of the A plot, and the big gang fight gets interrupted by the New York draft riots, which are brilliantly portrayed in this movie. Gangs of New York was everything for the Northern home front that the Free State of Jones movie should have been for the Southern home front. Well, these are just my opinions, and if there's a different Civil War movie that you like a lot and you think should have been on this list, go ahead and write it in the comments. In the meantime, thank you for watching The Civil War, Wild West Edition. Please like and subscribe.